Welcome to another episode of Football Scientific with me, Aaron Rodger. I'm a writer for the UFL News Hub and the CFL News Hub. I cover the San Antonio Brahmins, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the IFL, the NAL, and the ELF. We'll have an ELF story today. Joining me, I have my co-host, Timmy the Trash Talking Tiger Shark. What up, yo? We've been working hard all day to put together this episode. There's a ton of football information in it, but we're going to start off with our IFL Power Rankings and our predictions for the playoffs. I saw Cody Bryant do his prediction for playoffs yesterday on In the Alley, and I thought it'd be a good thing to do to see how we match up. Last year I contributed with him on some of my predictions before I really got enough bravery, courage to do the video myself. I had been sending him my predictions and comparing to his. We were right spot on most of the time. Okay, and nothing's different this year. But first, here's the IFL Power Rankings that me and Timmy put together. It's what we did. Yes, okay. So first, number one, I have the defending IFL National Champions, the Arizona Rattlers. This could change a lot. Most likely the Power Rankings will change a lot each week. This is a re-up right before the season starts. The Rattlers I have at number one until someone knocks them off, okay? The Jacksonville Sharks, I predicted them to win the East last year. And they've been a national championship game and beat the Rattlers, or lose to the Rattlers, one of those two. But they really fell flat. Boom, they were not prepared for their trip to the IFL. I think after an offseason, they have made adjustments and got themselves ready with their defense and their running game with Jimmy Robinson added to them. And they're going to make a big run for the East and into that IFL National Championship. Let's go, Jacksonville Sharks. That's right, the Sharks are coming. Dun, dun. Dun 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 dun. Timmy! That's right, Timmy. Okay, number three, I have the Bay Area Panthers. Once again, last year they won the Western Conference, but then they lost in the playoffs. I think they're still going to have a solid team. They're getting all these players from the Northern Arizona Wranglers. They have one of the better coaches in the league. They're going to come out. They know how to win games now. They're going to be pretty good. Once again, I'm going to go to Bay Area Panthers at number three in the league until someone proves me wrong. Maybe Tucson Sugar Skulls will knock them off or something. Number four, I got the Tulsa Oilers. Tulsa Oilers to me were really a bottom half team last year, and they stayed in that. They did not make the playoffs, but they gained so many players from the Frisco Fighters. Okay, I think if you average out the success of the Frisco Fighters and the defensive success of the Tulsa Oilers, you have a pretty good team in Tulsa. And their fan base deserves it. They have a great fan base in Tulsa. So I got Tulsa at 4 right now. Number 5, I got the Vegas Nighthawks. I know that Cody, he had the Nighthawks at number 1. He felt like they're the most talented team in the league. I may agree. They may be really talented, but here's the thing. Their quarterback, Jerome Johnson, carries the weight of that team. If I know that, the IFL teams know that. And I would game plan to keep the ball in Jerome Johnson's hands and take away his running ability. Put a linebacker in as a spy and do not let him run the ball. Make him throw passes. I think you see him be much less effective. I think it'll take the Nighthawks all season to figure out how to defeat the Temple, to defeat the Vegas Nighthawks. Now, the teams let Jerome Johnson run all over again. That's on them. I wouldn't do it, though. I would game plan to make sure Jerome Johnson has to work so hard to get his points. And he's going to turn the ball over sometimes, and you got a chance to win. But we'll see. Maybe the Nighthawks come out and be dominant. That'd probably be good for IFL since they're one of the bigger TV markets. And also a tourism market. They can get a lot of people in that stadium. San Diego Strike Force, I got them at number 6. I don't think they'll make the playoffs in the Western Conference. I think they're going to have a dip. Boop, because once again, they're a team that's a niche team. They're a high-powered throwing team. All goes through Nate Davis. Once you know that, you can challenge them to run the ball. They do have a good defense, which will take them a long way. I think they'll be number 5 in the West, honestly. But right now, I got number 6 in the league until someone comes out and knocks them off consistently. Okay, number 7, I got the Massachusetts Pirates. Why? They've lost a lot of talent, but they lose a lot of talent every year, and they're really good. They have great scouting. They bring in more talent, Division I FBS talent all the time. They're always in the mix. They usually have a lull during the season. They start off strong. They have a lull with injuries. They pop back up at the end. They make the playoffs, number 3 seed, and then they make a run. I suspect the same thing will happen this year again. But they don't have Jimmy Robinson, so they might fall off the map. Boop. Off the map. Walk the plank. Massachusetts Pirates. That's right, I can walk the plank, Timmy. Good call. Okay, San Antonio Gunslingers, I have them moving into the top, near the top half of the league, still a little bit below the top half. Last year, they had great offense, explosive offense. They were running up and down the field on offense. Defense couldn't stop anybody. They let the other team be explosive. Even if their team wasn't as good as they are, okay? So even though they had better weapons on offense, their defense was so bad, it let the other team outscore them. That's why they were 8-8, okay? I think they've adjusted that defense. Coach Manas has made adjustments to that defense. They have a different quarterback. I think they're going to be a little more measured in their approach on offense, not trying to score so fast. I think they'll still score a lot, but I think they'll control the ball a little more and set their defense up for success. I think they'll have a winning record this year. Okay, the Green Bay Blizzard had a breakout season last year, ended up winning the Eastern Conference in the regular season, but lost to the Massachusetts Pirates in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they'll still be pretty good. They'll be pretty good, but they've lost some things. They've shuffled the deck, and maybe they'll come out and not be great. They had 5 bad seasons before last year, where they didn't make the playoffs. They made the playoffs. Is that a blip or is that the new standard? I don't know. I got them at number 9 until they prove me wrong. Okay. Number 10, Quad City Steamrollers. They have a new quarterback, Naquan Neal. I think they'll be better on offense this year. Their defense is still iffy to me. And a great year. The Quad City Steamrollers are about a 9-win team. And a great year. The year they went to the IFL National Championship and lost to the Northern Arizona Wranglers. They were a 9-7 team, but they got hot with E.J. Hilliard in the playoffs and ended up in the national championship, lost by 2 points. That's pretty close to winning a national championship. But I think that in the regular season, they struggle to find an identity. I think they'll still struggle to find an identity, even though Naquan Neal's a big improvement at quarterback. I have a number 10 right now, okay? Number 11, Northern Arizona Wranglers. If you remember my previous power rankings, I went through each division, and I felt like the Wranglers were going to be in last place, okay? But they keep adding talent. They keep adding talent. They lost their quarterback. They lost their head coach. They've lost a lot to the Bay Area Panthers, but they keep finding more talent. Similar to the Massachusetts Pirates, but not as good. They keep finding more talent, okay? They have good scouts. They keep bringing in more people. Now, will they match last year's 9-7 record? I don't know. This league is really difficult to judge this year. Everyone's going to be super tough, so it's hard to say where they'll fall. Right now, I'm falling at number 11 in the league. Number 12, I have the Tucson Sugar Skulls. I believe Billy Back will be able to at least double the win total from last year. They had 2 wins. They were 2-14. I could see them doubling that to 4, maybe to 6. Or they could just be a breakout team and come out and win every game. Who knows? It's the IFL. It's wide open. Number 13, the Fisher's Freight. I originally had them as the last place team in the conference, an expansion team. I think they have a hard time adjusting, but I do think they have a really excellent defense. And I think their head coach, Dixie Wooten, he knows what he's doing in the IFL. I do think they're going to struggle offensively, so I think they'll be in most games, but they won't score enough points. So I have the number 13. I mentioned during my laser focus sessions, going through team previews, that they could be next year's team that should become the championship team. There's an old tradition that the expansion team start off with 1 win 1 year, and the next year they win the whole league in IFL National Championship. Okay, Iowa Barnstormers, they're a traditional power that fell off after 2019. They've had a ton of injury issues. I didn't see them pick up anyone all that impressive, but they may be pretty solid football. But if they have a bunch of injuries again, they're going to be back in the tank. I got them the last place team in the IFL. Also, like I said, Cody Bryant put out his in the alley, and the channel that he runs, he only does IFL. Mental note, he's an IFL specialist. Okay, so he's probably a little better than me at this stuff, but we'll see. I'm putting together my playoffs real quick. So my prediction for the Western Conference is number 1 will be Arizona Rattlers. Number 2, Bay Area Panthers. Number 3, Vegas Nighthawks. Number 4, San Antonio Gunslingers. And the Eastern Conference, my 4 playoff teams, I have as the Jacksonville Sharks, number 1. Tulsa Oilers, number 2. Mass Pirates, number 3, Massachusetts. And number 4, Green Bay Blizzard. How I have the playoffs working out, I have the Gunslingers upsetting Arizona Rattlers on the road to open the playoffs in the Western Conference. I have the Vegas Nighthawks defeating the Bay Area Panthers for the second year in a row in the playoffs. I have the Nighthawks defeating the San Antonio Gunslingers and going to the national championship game. Cody Bryant had it as well. So I think that's a good confirmation. We both feel like that's possible. I think they're going to struggle during the regular season, but they have the best player in the league in Jerome Johnson. Okay, in the Eastern Conference, I got the Jacksonville Sharks defeating the Green Bay Blizzard. In the playoffs, I got the Tulsa Oilers defeating the Massachusetts Pirates. But mental note, the Frisco Finals have always been a very good team. They're great in the playoff or great in the regular season. They won a playoff game and would always lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. I have the same thing going down for the Tulsa Oilers, who have the fighters, players, and coaches. The Jacksonville Sharks will defeat the Tulsa Oilers in the Eastern Conference Finals, setting up the IFL Championship game. And I have the Jacksonville Sharks with Jimmy Robinson defeating the Vegas Nighthawks, becoming the first team in several years from the Eastern Conference to win the IFL. So that's my predictions. We'll find out more on Friday night. I'm going to have predictions for the NAL Week 3 games and IFL Week 1 games tomorrow. Boom. Okay. All right. In the UFL, some things have happened. The Arlington Renegades have removed several players from the roster because they were most likely no-shows for camp. Offensive tackle Jeremy Flax, DN Daryl Johnson, linebacker Jabril Cox. He's the main loss for them. That guy's a pretty good linebacker. He's now not going to return. They've already marked him off the list. They said, nah, training camp's about done. I guess he's not going to show up. Birmingham Stallions signed linebacker JoJo Doman. He had played at Nebraska. He spent some time at Indianapolis Colts, Tennessee Titans. That's probably a big-time player for them to bring in JoJo Doman. Let's see what he can do. I'll be probably going to a few Birmingham games and seeing him firsthand. They released linebacker DeMarcus Gates. So they brought Doman in to replace Gates. Maybe an upgrade, okay. DC Defenders, they have re-signed defensive end Davin Bellamy. They had a pretty good D-line last year, but not as good as their defense coordinator wanted to have. They cut offensive tackle Darius Harper. Houston Roughnecks have cut edge rusher Michael Scott, who spent time with the Brahmas in 2023. I don't remember him making a lot of noise for the Brahmas, so he's brought him to training camp. They're cutting him. Boop. See ya. Okay. March 21st, Friday, we expect all teams to cut down their roster to 50 players. Okay, let's cut down to 50 players at the end of training camp. That's going to end training camp. They have scrimmages today. Okay, we're expecting big cuts on Friday. We'll find out those announcements then. Boom. One of the scrimmages today was the Houston Roughnecks versus the San Antonio Brahmas, and James Larson was at a press conference for both head coaches as an EFL insider. So head coach C.J. Johnson, his thoughts about the scrimmage was that the quarterback battle for them between Nolan Henderson and Anthony Brown. I heard Anthony Brown would be their starter, but he's saying it's a close race. No one wants to show their hand right now in the preseason, okay? I'm going to keep some question marks. Running back, Kirk Merritt, he needs to step up. They need a running back that's going to step up their game. Offensively, C.J. Johnson said that their run game had looked really good offensively against the Brahmas, who have last year had one of the best defenses in the league. If you can run the ball well against the Brahmas, you're doing something. And then the defensive line, he described them as dominating the line of scrimmage. That's a difficult thing to say in Brahmas. A.J. Smith runs a wide open offense, kind of run and shoot, air raid, mixture. They do like to run the ball. They had to become a power team last year because their quarterback play was so bad, and they had to live on their defense. They ended up having pretty good success in the running game, but I could see them wanting to pass the ball more. They're loaded at wide receiver. They have Kellerman at quarterback. I think they're ready to really blossom into an explosive offense, but offensive line is not one of their strongest areas, and that could be a problem for the San Antonio Brahmas. Okay, they had a ton of injuries last year. They overcame it and still played pretty good football. I think A.J. Smith, their offensive coordinator, has a good mind and can work around those issues, but I think that's still going to be an issue maybe early in the season. We'll see how it goes. We're going to find out real quick against the Arlington Renegades. James Larson also had key points from San Antonio Brahmas head coach Wade Phillips. He basically looks at Kellerman as being the starter going in. he has the slight edge is the word you're using, slight edge. But Kevin Hogan's 35 years old. He had a little bit of the playing time last year. Jarrett Guarantano's the opposite end of the spectrum. He's very young, and he got the crap beat out of him from the Houston Roughnecks last year. He doesn't appear to be very durable. I think Kellerman's, by elimination, is going to be the starter. And we'll see if he's better than Chase Garbers was last year. If he is, they have a chance to be very good. If he's all talk, then it might be an ugly season. If they can't win the ball, if they can't run the ball effectively, and they struggle at quarterback, it could be a long season for the Brahmas. I hope that's not the case. Boom. And then Wade Phillips went into some detail about how they cut players. Basically, he's going to trust his position coaches to pick the best players, but if there's someone that they're picking that he wants to keep, he'll let them know. It's pretty wide open. He's a CEO type coach. He's a very old coach from the NFL. He's a CEO type. He's going to let his coaches coach, and that's probably good. He's old. He looks tired. He's, he doesn't have all that much fire. He has an old school defense. The old school defense is very good. He's letting the offense do their things. He's letting his coaches do their things. He trusts them, which is the important thing to have in a coaching staff is trust. So those are all good signs for success. We'll see how Kellerman does. That's the main thing. Also, we'll see how those cuts look on Friday. On the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings early today said they're out from Aaron Rodgers. Also, they said they're not interested in trading J.J. McCarthy as a quarterback. They are committed to J.J. McCarthy. They are out of the Aaron Rodgers situation. They don't want to be mentioning that anymore. They are out of that. That takes away a lot of leverage that Aaron Rodgers was using the Giants and the Vikings as leverage against the Steelers. I've heard the Steelers wanted him, or he may want to be with the Steelers, but he's been using the Vikings and the Giants as leverage to try and max the payout. He wanted 2 years, $90 million. I don't think he's going to get that now, if he gets anything from the Steelers. Okay, so right now, Steelers, they're the only team interested, really. The Giants are moving on with their lives. But I heard they may pick up Russell Wilson after Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers. Or if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Giants, because the Steelers aren't going to pay him enough, the Giants will probably make a bad decision, which would be ironic because he was there for the Jets, as being the same stadium, same fan base. He'll destroy that. The franchise is already destroyed for the New York Giants, so he really can't do much damage. Those coaches need a quarterback that's going to help them win games. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is not the guy for that. Okay? He's going to have a good year, but they're not going to win games with that guy. He just makes too many mistakes. He reminds me of the last couple of years of Brett Favre, although Brett Favre made it to the playoffs with the Minnesota Vikings before the New Orleans Saints, Greg Williams, the New Orleans Saints bounty gate came out and put him out of the game. I would say right now Favre is probably a better quarterback in his career than Aaron Rodgers. And way less, drama. Way less drama with Brett Favre. Okay? No ayahuasca tea and no tribalism and no dark retreats. Not saying those things are bad. It just makes it kind of different, especially if you're not playing the best football. It's not going to be different if you're not excelling at football. Aaron Rodgers brings a lot of issues. More with Aaron Rodgers. So because the Minnesota Vikings are not interested in Aaron Rodgers, he's now, and looking to the Steelers, he has less leverage. He's going to get less pay from them, okay? Also, it was leaked that the whole staff of the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, the GM, and their quarterback coach, went and had dinner with Jalen Milroe during the pro day in Alabama, okay, where he ran a 4.3740 as pro day. That's pretty good. It seems like the Steelers are cozying up with Jalen Milroe, and they may want to take him in a draft, which would make Aaron Rodgers the best of bridge quarterback, okay, to Jalen Milroe. He's not going to want to bring the young guy along. He already didn't want to do that in Green Bay. So he's going to have a one-year contract as a bridge quarterback at best with the Steelers. That's going to really cut into his pay. So having the Vikings turn him down, I think, really was a big deal. Okay, all right. Atlanta Falcons, they're open to trading to maybe to Kirk Cousins, maybe. Why do I say that? That's a rumor. But teams are asking them, hey, can we have Kirk Cousins? Can we have Kirk Cousins? Remember, they had talked about releasing him. They talked about trading him earlier than paying him the bonus. They're way overpaying him if he's going to be a backup quarterback. Okay, he's getting top dollar from the Falcons, but all signs point they want Michael Penix Jr. to be the starting quarterback there, okay? So, do you keep him and overpay him at quarterback, or do you trade him and get some picks for him before the draft? I would trade him and get some picks for him. Then don't look to start him. You could pick up an equivalent quarterback in the draft, okay? Probably Jackson Dart or something, and have less money involved in that quarterback situation. Tennessee Titans quarterback Will Levis is also drawing interest from teams for trades. The Titans have not mentioned, I think they don't want to show their hand that they're going to draft Cam Ward in the first pick. I wouldn't do that if I was them. I would hang on to Will Levis. I would trade my first pick, not to the Giants. The Giants are open to trading because they want to get Cam Ward instead of getting Tails. That's another thing that puts Aaron Rodgers in a weird spot. He may be a bridge quarterback there too. Russell Wilson might be a bridge quarterback. He already kind of was with the Steelers, but he didn't bridge to anything. He bridged to nothing. I don't know. But I would hold on to Will Levis for one more year, maybe 2 more years until another big quarterback class comes through. But if people are asking to trade for Will Levis, they see something in him. The problem with Will Levis is he has nothing around him, okay? So if you can trade your first-round pick up maybe 4 picks, and then put some things around him, he could be a better quarterback. Yeah, he puts mayonnaise in his coffee, and that's gross. But he might be a decent quarterback if he can get over that stumbling block. Stupid mayonnaise. All right, quarterback Russell Wilson, he's reading the signs. He's ready to be a quarterback again. He wants to sign with the team, but he knows Aaron Rodgers is getting first pick. Aaron Rodgers is getting first pick. Why? I don't know why. Russell Wilson is equally good to Aaron Rodgers right now, and has won a Super Bowl more recently. And actually played more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers, but he's having to wait until Aaron Rodgers makes the decision to fall for the Giants or the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the Minnesota Vikings. The Cleveland Browns are moving on from looking at Russell Wilson. They're moving on from Aaron Rodgers. They're not moving on from Deshaun Watson. They should. That's a huge anchor around their neck. Okay, but it seems like Russell Wilson's ready to sign as soon as Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere. I mentioned once they sign, I'm doing a night vision on that to announce that. We'll see when that happens. It still has not happened. And Aaron Rodgers had mentioned he's in no rush to sign. He's in no rush because he's trying to use whatever leverage he can. But once all these spots are filled, he's not going to have any leverage. I think he sees writing on the wall, though. He's not going to get paid what he wants to get paid, okay? Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, they are attempting to make a deal with San Francisco 49ers to obtain Brandon Ayuk. They have released, they traded Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders. They traded Jordan Mason to the Minnesota Vikings. It seems like they're dumping their roster. They're going to pay Brock Purdy a lot of money, but then they're going to basically dump the roster and go to a rebuild and rebuild that thing. They're currently dumping a lot of people. The Browns are like, we'll take Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, similar to Deebo Samuel, was not happy with his contract situation last year, creating a lot of negative energy in the team, the environment of the team in the locker room. So 49ers may be willing to get rid of him. But that will leave them really with no offensive weapons at receiver. So that may put them in a tough spot. But I think they're going to go into rebuild after that. Next, Dallas Cowboys. There's been a lot of rumors of them talking to Micah Parsons about his contract situation. Here's the problem with Dallas Cowboys. They could have re-signed him last year, and they could have saved themselves a ton of money. Because as soon as Max Crosby cashes in, boop, and the Cleveland Browns reset the market by paying Myles Garrett $40 million for 4 years, boop, which ended up being like $123 million. That blew up the edge rusher market, okay? So the problem with waiting in the NFL is if you want to sign a guy for long term, you should just do it, okay? You should just do it. Because if you wait, you franchise tag him. If you're planning to keep him after you franchise tag him, here's what's going to happen. You're going to pay a lot more money. The money's always going up because the salary cap's expanding every time there's a new TV deal. So Micah Parsons, in his first 4 years, has 52.5 sacks. He is a 3-time All-Pro guy. He's made a lot of plays. He's been very dominant. Now, the reason why they're holding back most likely is because DeMarcus Lawrence was in the same position. They paid DeMarcus Lawrence, and he dipped way off after they paid him, okay? So, Micah Parsons' little brother, Terrence Parsons, put out some kind of social media thing saying Micah wants 5 years, $205 million for 5 years. That's going to put him right around Myles Garrett money, okay? That's also a long-term contract. But it turns out the Cowboys have looked at that and they're like, nah, I don't know if we want to do that or not. We don't know. Right now he's playing around his rookie contract. The 5th year was the last year. The 5th year is rookie contract for $24 million. That's got a huge jump in pay, and they're not sure if he's going to dip off. They've also talked about potentially trading Micah Parsons, but they've not done that recently. So it seems like they're going to keep him, but they're not like putting money on the table yet. Okay. Tennessee Titans have re-signed running back Julius Chestnut to a 1-year extension. Jacksonville Jaguars have signed offensive tackle Fred Johnson to a 1-year contract. Atlanta Falcons signed safety Jordan Fuller. The terms of that were not released. Okay. Cleveland Browns back around again. Quarterback situation. So, because they've been waiting on the Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers thing to go down, they've been waiting to see what's going to happen there. They picked up Kenny Pickett. Okay, they have Deshaun Watson on their roster in salary cap, taking up $36.9 million in cap space. He blew his Achilles last year. He's probably not going to play at all this year. They only have $10 million in cap space. That's why they can't sign Russell Wilson. That's why they can't make a play for Aaron Rodgers. They only got $10 million to offer. That's not enough for a top-level quarterback. So, what are their options? Well, it looks like they're looking at Carson Wentz. Looking at Carson Wentz for a 1-year contract. He spent time on the Kansas City Chiefs last year, beat the Broncos in the last game of the season. He has spent time in the Indianapolis Colts. He's part of the graveyard Indianapolis Colts, the Washington Commanders, the LA Rams, Kansas City Chiefs. He started off with the Philadelphia Eagles, kept getting injured because he likes to run the ball. In the NFL, if you're not fast and you like to run the ball, you want to be a fullback, you're going to have a short lifespan in the NFL, okay? He has mutual interest in the Cleveland Browns. He would like to have a chance to compete for a starting spot. If he gets signed by the Cleveland Browns, he'll be competing head-to-head with Kenny Pickett. He's not going to get paid more than $10 million, so that's what they got in cap space. So he's going to do it on the cheap. But it puts him in a prove-it-year situation. This might be the last stage of his career. This is another quarterback graveyard in Cleveland. This might be his last step in his career. So he's going to do a prove-it-year. Up to this point, he's played 98 games. He's threw for 22,410 yards. Not great numbers. 153 touchdowns, though. Only 6-7 interceptions. He has a completion rate of 16.7. He's competitive. He's just not great. He's not been as great as people thought he was his first year with Philadelphia because the kid's getting injured. He came from North Dakota State. Probably better than what you'd think. Mainly, he set up the Niners because Carson Wentz was doing okay. Trey Lance came from North Dakota State. They drafted Trey Lance and that blew up their thing. They're like, well, Trey Lance is not any good. Well, Carson Wentz isn't that good either. All right. Netflix has a quarterback show called Quarterbacks, very creative. In season 2, it's going to feature Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, and Jared Goff. Just a side note, the Denver Broncos have signed punter Matt Hack. But he's a hack. I'm a hack, probably. Okay. LA Rams have signed cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon 1 year. The New England Patriots signed linebacker Jack Gibbons for 1 year. The Pittsburgh Steelers signed defensive tackle Daniel Ukwale. I mentioned yesterday of that one. I called him ukulele. That might be right. Ukulele. Maybe ukulele. I don't know. I'm not good with that. Tennessee Titans have wide receiver Rondale Moore visiting them. Little known fact. Had a chance to coach against Rondale Moore when he was at Louisville Trinity and I was at Warren Central. We had a receiver that plays for the Browns now, and David Bell. They both went to Purdue. Rondale Moore went to Arizona, got drafted by Arizona. He's now looking at the Tennessee Titans. I live in Tennessee. It's a weird connection. Rondale Moore. Okay. Adam Schefter released a bunch of things today. He mentioned that Washington Commanders have reworked the deal for Deebo Samuel. Basically, Deebo Samuel had a deal that was going to top out at $20 million, but it wasn't guaranteed by the Niners. So when they traded for him, they redid his deal. It's going to guarantee $17 million, which is better than what he had. And with incentives, he can get the $3 million extra dollars in incentives and get $20 million for the season for a 1 year deal. And this is a big prove-it year from him then he can stay healthy, he can do the role. They may pay him a lot more next year, but they're going to kind of see if he can stay healthy. So a 1-year deal, guaranteed $17 million, which is more than the Niners were guaranteeing. $3 million in incentives, possible to get $20 million. We'll see what he does with that. Okay, he's also number one. They want to make a spotlight on him. That's pretty cool for him. Houston Texans are rebuilding their offensive line after trading Laramie Tunsil to the Washington Commanders and then trading some guys for some other picks on their offensive line. They're trying to move up the scale a little bit. They have signed left tackle Cam Robinson to 1 year for $14.5 million. Why is that an issue for them? Because they gave up 58 sacks last year or something. It was horrible. They gave up the most amount of sacks of their quarterback C.J. Stroud. He's a nice young talent, but they didn't get crushed all the time. Still made the playoffs, but couldn't go anywhere because he kept getting sacked. Okay, so they're trying to flip that line before C.J. Stroud runs out of his rookie contract. Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, they have signed offensive tackle Fred Johnson. They're trying to rebuild that line, trying to rebuild that entire offense. Okay, Detroit Lions have re-signed defensive end Al Quaden Muhammad for 1 year. Last year they had a great defense starting the season. They had a bunch of guys get injured. They're trying to bring that defense back. Dan Campbell would like to, run it back and have a chance to get back to the NFC Championship game, but without the injuries, we're going to see. Jacksonville Jaguar has lost his coordinators. Aaron Glenn's now with the head coach of the Jets. Ben Johnson's now head coach of the Bears. It's a lot to overcome, but he's trying to get it done, okay? Jacksonville Jaguars maybe looking for a trade offer for defensive end Trayvon Walker. In 2022, he was their number one pick. He had 24 quarterback sacks. That's pretty good. I wish the Bengals would step up and try to get him. Let's go, Bengals. Get off the pine. They could let Trey Henderson go. They're trying to find a trade partner for Trey Henderson, but no one wants to trade because his contract is so poorly built by the Bengals. No one wants to trade for that contract. So what's going to happen, they're going to re-sign him and give him $30 million and blow up their salary cap, or they're going to release him and give him up for nothing. Okay, that's where they're at. That's why bad decisions. If they're going to re-sign someone, do it early in the contract and not string them along so you're not having to break the bank for them. Okay, boom, got it. That shit may have something else on it. We'll see. No, that's it. Okay, all right, let's see. Nope, there is more. Okay, Chicago Bears signed wide receiver Devin Duvernay. He was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. They picked him up for 1 year. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former offense coordinator Byron Leftwich has left the NFL. He's joining Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the University of Colorado. We'll see what he does there, okay. He wanted to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had some history with them, but it didn't work out. New York Jets and Pittsburgh Steelers, they are both looking at quarterback Jackson Dart. That's probably going to be a draft move they make. I think the Steelers should trade for the Titans pick and pick up Cam Ward. I think that's the best quarterback in this draft. But they're talking about quarterback Jackson Dart. The Steelers are doing this while they're stringing along Aaron Rodgers. I think they're trying to reduce even more Aaron Rodgers' leverage, saying, hey, we would rather have Jackson Dart anyway. But they need a bridge quarterback. And it might be Mason Rudolph, but they need one more quarterback other than that. So I guess it depends on how much they want to pay. The New York Jets, they're not going to pick up Aaron Rodgers. That's over, Rover. But they might trick up Jackson Dart and ruin another rookie quarterback. They're really good at that. They're good at ruining rookie quarterbacks' careers. In the Canadian Football League, the CFL, the Calgary Stampeders have an active day. They signed 4 American players. Yesterday I mentioned they signed Tyon Evans. I didn't know much about him, but he had spent some time with the Carolina Panthers, and he played 4 games with Houston Roughnecks in the UFL last year. They signed linebacker Trey Kaiser. He had spent some time with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Giants. He's in the NFL. They signed defensive back Ben DeLuca. I mentioned I had heard of his name before. He played 9 games for the St. Louis Battlehawks last year in the UFL. That's why I've heard of him. He also spent time at LA Chargers, but I've heard of Ben DeLuca because of his time with the St. Louis Battlehawks. I knew I heard that name before. They also signed defensive back Sean Stevens. Sean Stevens has spent time on the field of the Eagles. He was a training camp coach for them. He played at Ferris State. If you don't know, Ferris State's one of the better Division II teams in the country. Then they won a national championship again this year. So he comes from a good background, and really a lot of times Division II guys are a good mix into the CFL because youth sports football in Canada is kind of like, that's their top level of college football. It's kind of like Division II football in the United States. Okay, Montreal Alouettes have signed former NFL defensive back Quentin Meeks. Okay, he would play for the Jacksonville Jaguars, LA Chargers, Tennessee Titans, New Orleans Saints. He's played in 17 NFL games, 10 tackles, and 2 pass deflections in his NFL career. He's the son of NFL coordinator Ron Meeks, who helped the Indianapolis Colts win the Super Bowl in 2000-something against the Bears. Okay, so the kid's got a good background. He's got an NFL defense coordinator as his parent, so you know he knows some football. We'll see how that goes. Okay, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have signed NFL draft pick. NFL draft pick. Former NFL draft pick, former third-round draft pick, American defensive back Rashawn Golden. I mentioned that yesterday, I believe. He's from Spring Hill, Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee right now, too. That's pretty cool. He had played 24 games for the Carolina Panthers. He had 20 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 pass deflection. Okay. He'd also spent some time in the New York Giants and Las Vegas Raiders. Spending time means probably on the practice squad. And in the CFL, he spent some time with the Calgary Stampeders in 2022 on the practice squad. So remember, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had their defensive back retire, but now he's not retiring. He's trying to get signed somewhere. Brandon Alexander, we'll see what happens to that guy. Okay, but they need a defensive back. This guy could be a good fit. They usually have good scouting. They pick up good players. That's why other people like the Hamilton Tiger Cats take some of their players when they can't afford them anymore. They overpay them and bring them on because they got a good eye for talent in Winnipeg. Ottawa Red Blacks, National Offensive Lineman Cooper Hamilton has retired. Edmonton Elks, American wide receiver Benjamin Victor, who played at Ohio State, has signed with the Edmonton Elks. Edmonton Elks like to get U.S. FBS talent, okay? And then I have European League of Football news. First, I was watching some of their games today on YouTube on the European League of Football channel. They're doing a 24/7 roll of their games from last year. The second time they've done it. They're running through the game. They're showing their analysis shows. So if you want to get your foot wet in the European League of Football, now's a good time to do it for free without having the Game Pass. You can see the team. You can see the players. You can hear the analysis. It's been a good time. It's pretty entertaining. I like the ELF. Okay? In the ELF news, in addition to them playing the games over and over, the Berlin Thunder, who are trying to take the next step and become a playoff team. It's difficult to become a playoff team in a 16-team league where 16 make the playoffs too. But the Berlin Thunder are trying to take the next step. They have hired Adam Rita, who's a 6-time Grey Cup champion in CFL, as their new OC. He's 77 years old, but like I said, he brings 6 Grey Cup championships. He knows how to win championship games. 3 as an offensive coordinator, 1 as a head coach, and 2 as a general manager. He's had a 28-year-old CFL career. He spent time on the BC Lions where he started his CFL career, turned to Argonauts, Edmonton, when they were called the Edmonton football team. They had a similar thing as the Washington Commanders and Washington football team situation. He coached for the Ottawa Roughnecks back in the day. He coached for the Memphis Mad Dogs when the CFL did the UFL or US expansion. That's when I really hooked on to the CFL back in the day because I like seeing American teams. It was fun, but they play bad football. I like the CFL better now. Okay, so that's the rundown of everything. That was a lot of news. Tomorrow I'll be going through my NAL and IFL predictions for Week 1 in IFL and Week 3 in the NAL. I'm hoping to go undefeated, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, remember, check out my articles on CFL News Hub and UFL News Hub. Also, check out other articles on UFL, I got tongue tied. UFL News Hub, CFL News Hub, and my Substack, Football Scientific on Substack. Also, subscribe to the channel, like the video. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers sometime, that would be pretty cool. I would just like to keep expressing my knowledge of football to you. If you want to see some other content, I can talk about defense, I can talk about offense, I can talk about schematics. There's other guys who do that on YouTube and Substack. I don't want to keep copying people. But if you want to see some of that stuff, let me know. I have a deep knowledge of the game, and I can explain a lot of that stuff. Okay. All right. Thank you for paying attention this long. Subscribe, like the video. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Football Scientific. Woo woo!